The bank lobby buzzed with morning activity as sunlight streamed through tall glass windows, streaking gold across polished marble floors. Men and women in suits tapped impatiently on their phones, shuffled papers, and checked the clock while waiting in line. Amid this scene, an elderly man named Mr. Harlan entered, tall but frail, with a weathered face, gray beard, and clothes that had clearly endured years of labor. His faded checkered shirt, torn jeans, and straw hat made him stand out among the polished crowd. Clutching an old leather wallet, he moved slowly, enduring the curious stares and judgmental glances of those around him. He wasn't unfamiliar with banks, but the weight of such looks always made him wish he could disappear. Still, his purpose was simple. He wanted to check his account balance. Unknown to those watching, Mr. Harlan had worked tirelessly his entire life, never flaunting his wealth or success, choosing instead to live quietly and humbly. As he stood patiently, the branch manager, Victor Morrow, emerged from his glass office, a sharp contrast to the old man. Young, confident, and immaculately dressed in a navy suit with a red tie, Victor thrived on appearances and arrogance. When his gaze landed on Mr. Harlan, he smirked, whispered something to a clerk that sparked laughter, and then loudly sneered, "If you even have a balance, old man, I'll pay you double." The entire room fell silent, all eyes turning toward the frail figure in the straw hat. Mr. Harlan didn't respond. His silence carried a quiet dignity that words couldn't match. He had faced such mockery before, but little did Victor, or anyone there, know that the man they mocked was the owner of the very bank they worked in, a self-made millionaire who had built his empire from nothing. The clerk, still chuckling, called Mr. Harlan forward and took his ID. As he entered the details into the computer, his amusement quickly vanished, the screen filled with digits beyond belief. His hands trembled as he whispered, "Sir, your account," before stopping himself, realizing Victor was watching. Noticing the clerk's unease, Victor strutted closer with a laugh, unaware that he was moments away from discovering that true worth isn't measured by appearance, but by character and humility. "Come now, don't tell me he actually has something in there," Victor mocked, his laughter echoing across the lobby. But when the clerk hesitated, Victor snatched the printed slip from the machine and froze mid-laugh. His face drained of color as his eyes scanned the balance, his arrogance evaporating like mist beneath the morning sun. His hands trembled as the truth sank in. The man he had ridiculed wasn't just wealthy. He was the silent owner of the very bank Victor managed. The room fell still. Customers leaned forward, whispering, and the staff exchanged uneasy glances. Mr. Harlan, calm as ever, took the slip back, folded it neatly, and tucked it into his worn wallet. His voice, low but powerful, carried through the silence. "The real balance we carry isn't in a bank account," he said evenly, "but in how we treat others." Then he turned toward the door, his slow, deliberate steps echoing like thunder across the marble floor. Victor's chest tightened as shame flooded his face. Every polished surface now felt like a mirror reflecting his cruelty. The laughter that once made him feel powerful now burned in his ears as disgrace. The customers who once admired him now looked at him with contempt. His staff, once obedient, saw him clearly for what he was, a man who bowed to wealth and mocked humility. But Mr. Harlan wasn't done. Before reaching the door, he paused, turned slightly, and addressed the lobby. His voice softened, rich with warmth. "I grew up with nothing," he said. "Every dollar I earned came from sweat, sacrifice, and patience. I built this bank not to make men arrogant, but to give families hope, to help workers achieve their dreams, to remind people that respect must always come before wealth. If you see someone who looks worn or tired, remember, you know nothing of the storms they've survived. Treat them with the dignity you'd want for yourself." The room was utterly silent. Even the ticking of the clock seemed to hold its breath. A young mother in line wiped away tears. An older man pressed a hand to his heart. For a moment, it felt as if the world itself had paused to listen. Victor stood frozen, consumed by humiliation. Pride and regret battled inside him, and for the first time in years, he felt small, truly small. Without another word, Mr. Harlan stepped out into the sunlight, his quiet departure leaving behind a silence heavier than any reprimand. By afternoon, the story had spread through the city like wildfire, and the lesson lingered long after the whispers faded. By the evening, news of the event had reached the top of the corporate tower, and within days, Victor was summoned to a meeting with the board. At the head of the long table sat Mr. Harlan, no longer in his straw hat, but in a simple, well-worn suit that reflected his quiet dignity. He looked at Victor not with anger, but with calm disappointment and said, "Leadership isn't measured by how loudly you speak, but by how kindly you treat the smallest voice in the room." The words struck deeper than any reprimand could. Unable to bear the weight of his shame, Victor resigned soon after, while the rest of the staff began to see their work and their customers through new eyes. The story spread quickly, becoming a symbol of humility and integrity. Customers entered the bank with newfound respect, whispering about the man in the straw hat who had taught an entire institution the meaning of humanity. As for Mr. Harlan, he returned to his simple life, unchanged by status or recognition. To him, wealth had never been the goal. Dignity always was. In the years that followed, his story became legend, not just about a CEO in disguise, but about a timeless truth. Appearances can deceive, but character never does. And somewhere in that sunlit lobby, an old man had quietly reminded the world what true wealth really means. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with others. And don't forget to subscribe to Ordinary Fury for more stories that celebrate kindness, respect, and the beauty of humility.